It's alive. Yes, yeah. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the 44th episode, installment even, of the Working Musicians Podcast, where I'm your humble host, Dris Organica. And I, today, am drinking Miller High Life. But you're going to have to take my word for it, because I have it in a koozie. Because that's how I roll, y'all. That's how I roll. Ew. Giggity. Giggity. So, yeah, this is going to be a blast. I think I just figured out how to finally do this. I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing, and I realized I was trying to make this way too complicated. So what I decided I would do is use my cell phone camera. This is coming to you via a Note 5, right? So it's kind of a new way of doing this. And I talked about in another episode, like I think YouTube fails or video fails or something like that, learnings of failure. And what I found out is I was trying to do this all complicated, use a separate phone, like camera, and then sync the audio that I have from my mic, which is just right here. That's my pop filter, but I don't really want you to see that. It's cool to know that's there, but like, you don't want it looking like this. That's not very fun to watch. Hi, you don't need to be right up on it. And I think something kind of natural usually is probably going to be what works the best. So, I just found like when I did that and then moved the dialogue to the video, it didn't make sense. It was obvious that I had dubbed it or taken the audio from another source, because like you hear the background audio and it just doesn't make sense. Maybe if I were to use like a condenser and have it more like miking the room, it'd make more sense. But I'm like, you know what? I'm overcomplicating this. If I'm going to do it, what I need to do is just take my camera, put it straight on YouTube, and just go. Now, the only problem I had is like, hey, I can't really edit the audio, but you know what? People do this all the time. It'll be fine. That way I can use YouTube Live. If this, so this is my first real effort. I think it's going to work. I'm going to try to go forward. With this, but it's kind of weird because I'm not used to having my face out on display. Because you're finally getting a chance to put a face with this voice. Yes. Yes, indeed. yeah, you are. Bet you had no idea I looked like this, did you? No, you didn't. Oh, yeah. But aside from all that, I'm excited. I quit smoking again. Oh, yeah, to hold the applause, because this ain't the first time I've done that before. Seems like I'm always trying to quit smoking or something like that, trying to improve myself and all that kind of shit. But it's been like 3 days, and I'm doing pretty good. So I'm just kind of edgy. I'm having a hard time really focus on stuff. Like, I don't really want to smoke. It's not so much that, but I'm starting to notice a little bit of the side effects. And this time it doesn't seem as bad as I've had it before. And sometimes it just seems like it's harder than others. And I think you get to a certain point where you're just ready. And I think I'm just ready. I feel good about it. Like, I don't know. I'm not too worried. Like, I feel like, I got this. And I've done this and I've quit for a few months at a time. And then something kicks up. The problem is I got to realize I just can't smoke like at all. Just don't. I know I'd like to think that maybe I could bum one here and there. But the problem is I just, even once I do that, it's kind of like it's over. So I'm not going to even do that. Like, I just can't smoke. It's just how that goes. I can't vape. I can't do any of that. Next thing you know, I'm a full-blown smoker again, just wasting money on that kind of crap. So, and besides, the more I smoke, the fewer episodes there are likely to be. That's just a cold, hard fact, If you want the old Drister to be around for a while, make his Organica tunes and, shows and whatnot, then he's going to have to quit his smoking and show that he can have a good, nice, long career in podcasting. Because that's where the big bucks are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but see, I mentioned this is brought to you by Miller High Life, tried and true unofficial sponsor of this here episode. Yeah, that's right. But I guess what I want to talk today a little bit about is why do we do this? The title of this episode is Why Do We Do It? And it can be a lot of things, and why is it that we do what we do? And this is more so in perspective of, working musicians, like, why is it I feel the need to host a podcast? Why is it that people feel the need to write music? Why is it that people feel the need to showcase this and broadcast it over social media or go out and play live? Why is it that people feel so inclined to do this? Why do we do this? And I don't really know. I can tell you why I do this. This is just fun. I mean, it's fun. It's a good outlet. It's kind of like a constructive hobby. But I guess I can kind of talk about why I do this, and it'll sort of spin off from there from other people I know. And I think it'll just kind of grow organically into a bigger, monologue style conversation onto the reasons why it is that we do what we do. But what I can say is, when I first started out, I played music and I enjoyed doing that, and that was great. I still like it, and I still play it, music a lot, and I write more music now. I get around to recording more of it. I have a hard time finishing stuff because, I don't know, it's kind of like, the song's not bad, but it's not great. I could finish it, and what's the point? It's okay. Just another song. Does the world really need another okay song out there? Occasionally I come up with something I think is pretty good, and so, it's like, well, hey, maybe I ought to try to get this out. So that's kind of how I roll. But I think one of the big reasons why I started is playing music is just because my brother was a real good drummer, and I played trombone in the school band. He had just quit school percussion, and he didn't want to do that anymore. He didn't want to do that in high school, and so around my freshman year for Christmas, I got an acoustic guitar from Best Buy. And part of it was I'd always wanted to play a guitar, and I already knew how to play the trombone. I've been playing for a few years, but I've been classically taught and trained. So, this is different. Like, it's different when you have to actually do it all yourself. And but part of my motivation is I've always wanted to play guitar. I've got the ability to play music and learn an instrument, but I kind of wanted, like, my brother to not stop drumming, because you could just tell he was unnaturally good and gifted. And I'm not saying that he would have stopped drumming had I not played guitar, but I can say I do feel like I helped shape him a little bit, or helped encourage him, because ultimately I ended up being in this first, like, serious band. And from there, it just kind of took off. Maybe I should have never done that, and, maybe he would have been further along in his life had I never, helped encourage him, But that's aside the point. Though that's just kind of why I started doing it. But that's not why I continued to do it. Those are two very different things. I'd say that the reason why I continue to do it is I just flat out enjoy it. It's fun. I think you have to be a little bit messed up to enjoy failing over and over again, and then deciding, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to, even though I'm not doing very good, I'm getting better every single time. And I think that's one of those things that people have a hard time with, is you ain't going to be good. You ain't going to start out and just be awesome. No, you're going to suck. And you're going to find out real quick that there are some people who are just always going to be better at this than you, and that's okay. You can't really compare yourself to other people too much, because, we're all different, We're all snowflakes, and we're all unique. Yeah, I had to adjust the mic there. I could tell just where I need to be for the camera versus the mic. This wouldn't work, and so I fixed it. Don't worry, I fixed it. Now, this is going to be a trip. I'm like on two different formats all at once, because I'm still going to do my podcast, but I'm also going to have a video cast on YouTube, so this will be interesting. And it's live on the YouTube Live. And I got to stop looking over here so I can see myself, because right there, That's where the camera lens is. So I guess I'm just kind of in love with seeing myself, but I'm seeing myself and I'm looking that way. It's kind of weird. Sorry, I don't need to be doing that stuff. That's ridiculous. But yeah, so I kind of got started because I wanted my kid brother to play. Keep going. I always wanted to play it. I guess it was maybe I finally found the excuse I needed. And but once I started playing in the acoustic guitar, before too long, I got me an electric guitar, and I Ibanez. In fact, I still have it. It's not that I'm that sentimental with it. It's just, it ain't worth enough to sell. And I can't say, well, it was my first electric guitar, so, I don't even play electric guitar no more, so big deal. It's not all that big of a deal to me, but it was my first electric guitar. My first real guitar that didn't just completely suck. I'm just saying, my Best Buy acoustic guitar, that thing sucked balls. It was a terrible guitar. It was a toy. It belonged right next to a $50 keyboard. I mean, it was basically, it's an acoustic instrument at an electronics store. What do you expect? But from there, it seems like my story and a lot of other people's, they're either similar, they vary here. It seems like after about a year or two, or some point, people, they don't really play. They just learn enough to get so they can kind of play along a little bit. But some people take it to the next level, and some people don't. And even from there, like my next level, there's other levels beyond that I ain't taking it. I might have taken it to level 4, but hell, there's levels 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and hell, some get to 11. I ain't gonna get there. I'm just not interested. I've mentioned in other episodes, to some people, I'm that extreme elitist, and then to other people, I think they're the extreme elitist. There are some people who are so good that it just inspires me to not want to try to do that, because it's just, I can tell what they've had to put into it, and I'm just ain't interested in doing that. Kind of takes the fun out of it, you know what I mean? Not to say I'm not afraid to work at it, but at this point, this is more so for fun. I mean, I do learn new techniques along the way, but I'm not really out here trying to push myself as a guitar player and musician. I'm more so trying to push myself as a writer and a creator, and trying to push that side of me. But early on, it was kind of like there were so many things I wanted to be able to do, but just couldn't. And so it was fun to be able to practice and be able to do that. And it gets to where you learn how to do everything you really want to do. It took a few years till I was solid at it, but, okay, so now what? Along the way, I was writing music and got to where I would wanted to play something, and what was in my head, I couldn't perform. So therefore I had to figure out how to play it, practice it, rehearse it. And that's kind of how my style came about, trying to play other people's music, integrating it with my own thoughts and opinions, blah, blah, blah. So I started writing music, and at the same time, I was challenged by the instrument and learning how to actually play it. But that was fun. That was fun for a while. And then it got to where I tried to push myself as a songwriter and try to make up stuff that was in weird time signatures and very complicated. And that was cool, it entertained me for a while. And then it kind of just stopped entertaining me. I stopped playing in bands, I got real serious with my life and other aspects, finished up school, got married, this, that, and the other thing, And at some point before I started having kids, I started getting back into the studio thing, but it's like no matter what I do, I'm still involved in music in some way, shape, or form. Well, I don't do quite as much like playing out and with bands and stuff like now. I'm just as involved with music as I've ever been. Only I'm now in the online community more so, or at least I'm trying to break into the online community. At least that's my goal here. I need to move my mic again. But it's just, things are different now. The internet wasn't what it was, 15 years ago when I was a, teenager. It's so different now. I just feel so disconnected from millennials. You could say maybe to an extent I am one, but I'm really not a millennial. When I went to school, cell phones weren't common. The internet was slow. It dialed up and went, We had AOL discs. AIM, Instant Messenger, was a big deal. Now everyone has it on their phone. Nobody cares. It's not even I don't even think it exists anymore. And if it does, it's just because people have had it for so long, if it does exist, it's not because it has new subscribers all the time. It's just people who've had it for so many years and just don't want to get rid of it. I'm curious if I were to go back and try to figure out my old login name, whether any of these people would still be on or whether it still exists. I had to check it out one day just for curiosity. Because I should know these things, right? I got to be an expert. I host a podcast. Got to be an expert on things. But, I kind of floated around, kind of was not as involved in music for a while, but in a roundabout way, what got me back into music at the level I am today, or not the level, kind of the way I'm into music today is I got into building computers and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like a computer idiot when I first got into college in my young 20s. I didn't know how to barely type. I didn't know how to hardly what a Google was. And so, I got into college, I had to start to learn. I was just barely proficient, just enough as I had to be. But it wasn't until a friend of mine, my Jewish friend, started teaching me about computers because our Dell finally died and took the hard drive and stuff with it. It's like, okay. It's like, instead of buying another computer, let me build you one. I promise it will be way better. And he wasn't charging us, so I was kind of leery of it at first. I'm like, what? Like, that's not something people do. You have to have like a factory to build a computer, right? And little Chinese people or Taiwanese folks, wherever they come from. One of those countries, the little, like just little Asian people with the eyes and the little hands and the little funny stick writing caricatures. Yeah, I figured you had to do like that. That's what a computer was. That's how that worked. Boy, was I wrong. And once I learned how powerful a computer could really be and how great it can work, then I kind of got into learning it. Next thing you know, I'm building it. Next thing you know, I've got some liquid cooled gaming machine that I called the Beast, because why not? And it was great. And I got into the gaming, the Battlefield 2s and all that stuff, Unreal tournaments. And I really had a great time with that during my later college years. But after I graduated, it's, and started working more heavily and then had kids, that went away. Once I had kids, basically that all went away. But that and the fact I overclocked the shit out of my stuff. And I had a Intel Q9550, if you remember what that is, on the old socket 775 on my EVGA 790 NVIDIA SLI board. I don't think they even make like NVIDIA chipset boards. It was kind of like the last legacy board of something of that nature. It just doesn't exist. And this was the kind of thing I'd been drooling over for some time, and it finally became affordable right before it became right at the time as they were moving to a new socket. And it was like, yeah, it's not going to be so upgradable, but shit, this thing is going to be so powerful for the money, I couldn't help it. And so in the process of how I used to overclock that thing with my liquid cool system, it was like, of course, I have to game on my quad core at 4.8 gigahertz, And it always bothered me that I couldn't game at 5, but I just had to live with it. Okay, 4.8 and it's stable. Well, over time I had to give it a little more juice, a little more voltage. And over like the course of 2-3 years, I think I had it for about 2 years, and I finally fried it. Took the motherboard and processor with it. Let's say that once something like that happens, if you know anything about computers and you've got a big gaming system, it's kind of like, hey, I still got the sails, you know what I mean? I still got the anchor, but shit, the hull and deck is gone. Like, it's just like, it's kind of hard to go back. So, what I ended up doing is, I sold off the graphics card, and just went and bought a cheap little AMD Athlon 2, a cheap little motherboard, and, sold off the graphics card. Now it's funny, I still have my PC power and cooling, 750 watt power supply, because that's totally necessary. I still have like my extreme mushkin RAM in there, but it's in this wimpy motherboard and this wimpy little processor. I didn't even bother putting on my Cooler Master V8 cooler, because I'd had that before I went to liquid cooling. And then I think at some point, that's what I had. And then I forget exactly the order, but anyway, I've got this big ass cooler and I just don't have the heart to put it on that piece of shit little processor. It's just a joke. It's like, it doesn't even get hot. Like, why? I can't really overclock on this thing. Believe me, I tried. So, but at the end of the day, what got me to this point is like, and all along the way as I'm building this, and then my computer died and I couldn't really play games anymore. It was at that point that I stopped gaming as much and started getting back into music. Now, I still had this joy of recording, and towards the end of gaming there, last year gaming, like I said, when I gamed, like it was like, that was like my hobby. For about 4 years there. That was like, if I did have free time, that's what I would do. Oftentimes that or drink or party. But, I would like to game, and I didn't always spend like great deals of time doing it. But when I did have free time, that's what I would usually do. And then it got to where it's like, okay, I still love doing computer stuff, but I just fried all my shit. And so we had a PlayStation 3 already. So it's like, whatever, I'll just use that for my gaming console. I don't really game that much. It's not that I really game that much, but when I did, I would game, And there was only like a couple of games I really liked, and they were basically Battlefield. And it's like, I can play that on the PlayStation when I want to, and I'm fine, right? Because I know I'm nerdy like that. But, so I finally pieced together this computer, and it was like, okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and I started getting back into recording because my buddy of mine, Channing, he, around this time, he started trying to make an EP. And his most recent one that he actually officially released, I think it's called Electric or whatever the hell it is. I forget. No, it's in my car because I actually was listening to it not that long ago. But yeah, I think it's called Electric. At least one of the songs is called Electric, and it was a pretty good one. So I think that's what he named the whole CD. But he started, recording, and he had just had some little wimpy 2-channel interface, a couple mics, condenser mics, and he was trying to record, and it was getting okay, but he was okay at recording it. The performances were okay, but he was trying to do everything himself, and it only gets so good. And he didn't really have a whole lot of money invested in gear, and his computer was this little netbook. It's a piece of crap, had no power, and he wasn't really much of a mixer and didn't really, you could tell, have a whole lot of interest in learning. But seeing him do that and kind of working with him along and playing music and with him, it kind of got me motivated to do it again. It's kind of funny how, like, you don't do something for a while and you don't miss it until you go and you see someone doing it and you do it alongside them a little bit. It's like, oh man, do I miss this? So I guess because I kind of got away from it for a few years where I still would play guitar, but it wasn't something I did like weekly even, But I started getting back into recording. And as a result, it kind of forced me to play again. And then I got into, I realized, I like recording stuff, but if I want to make good sounding recordings, in addition to needing more gear, I need to learn how to mix and know how to do this. And that just kind of got me into a whole other tailspin or rabbit hole of something to get into, because computers were like that for me. It's something I could spend a lot of time and energy on, knowing what are the best parts, how to do this, that, and the other thing, how to push your system harder. And so I started using that same kind of like obsessiveness I have, that obsessive compulsiveness to want to learn things when I do get interested in something. And that's what kind of fueled me recording and mixing and mastering. And I've been doing that for, I don't know, going on 10 years now. It's probably like 8 years, 7, 8. I'd say 10 years, but I'd been into it off and on before that. But when I first started, like, we had tape track machines. So it wasn't, and like computers were kind of a joke. Like, it sucked. It was limited. Nobody's computer was good enough to do shit. Yeah, you had to render everything. It sucked. Freeze your tracks. It sounded bad. 8-bit recording. Oh, what a joke. But so I'd been doing it before that, and I had been in studio circumstances before that, but I'd say the last 8 years I've really gotten into it again. More so full-time or continuously. That's like my main hobby. and it still is my main hobby. But that's why I kind of did it. That's why I got into it. And as a result of, getting back into music, mostly on the recording side and mixing and mastering side, it kind of forced me to get back into the instrument side, the artistry side, and playing it, because I still really enjoy recording music. I like making music. That's always what I enjoyed. I was never as big about, like, the thrill of being a great instrumentalist isn't what really motivated me. It was all about being able to write music and express myself that way. But more, if I had to take it to the next level, I think why that motivated me was because it sort of, I wanted to be able to relate to people like others had been able to relate to me, like certain artists that, it's just that feeling you get when you hear a song that you really connect to. It's like, oh, hell yeah. I always wanted for, like, other people to feel that way about music I wrote. Not to say it ever has, or that it ever will, but it won't if you don't try, you know? And so at the very least, I think that's part of why I did it, but largely it's just like my creative outlet. And I think if somebody doesn't have a hobby, you need to have something to look forward to when you come home. Don't get me wrong, I look forward to seeing my wife and kids, that's my family, that's great. But outside of that, you've got to have something like for yourself. And that's kind of like my selfish joy. That's, you know what I mean? That's like my little, well, when they're away, secretly, this is what I've been wanting to do for quite a while, that's where I spend my money, is on musical gear and that kind of crap. That's my baby. That's my time killer, my pastime, my joy. Takes a lower priority and a back seat to my family, obviously, but that's what I enjoy doing. And I think that's why a lot of us do it, right? So I guess if you find yourself running out of motivation to do something, I think if you ask yourself, why is it that I do this in the first place? Why do I ever start? What is it that keeps me going? Because I'm kind of at a point right now where it's like, I don't know, like, I'm doing these podcasts. This is my 44th episode, and it's cool and all, and I'm working on more music, but it's kind of like I'm not motivated to finish it. And I feel bad about that. I'm sure if I just hunkered down, just like, you know what, today I'm going to finish all the guitar tracks. I'll just get some new strings. I'm just going to hammer it out. I need like 4 hours. I'm just going to knock this 6 tracks out. Cool. Then I'll get another day, like, you know what? I'm going to put some new bass strings on. I'm going to knock out these bass lines. I got like 4 hours. I'm going to get 6 of them done. Bam. Do the same thing with the vocals. Although, unfortunately, vocals takes me about usually 2 real shots at. Usually there's I record it the first time around, then make mental notes, make some revisions, and then the second time I really, really go after it, like during the actual recording, not pre-production stage, but usually takes me a couple tries. So sometimes I get it in the first time. I'd say half the time I do, but more often than not, I'd say I find that it's, if I don't nail it within the first 2 or 3 tracks, I just give, like, whatever, call it a day and I'll come back to it another time. Because sometimes it's just, hey, you ain't got it, or you're just not singing it at the level you need to, or you realize there's more performance issues and just composition things that you didn't realize, but it's just, it's not quite there. Why settle? Especially when you have your own studio, just go back and do it again, right? But finding the time and the energy and motivation, that's the hard part. So worst case, you never get back to it and you just edit the hell out of those performances and make them work. Been there, done that. I had to do that with Echoes and Demons. On one of my, and I didn't know the words. I wasn't as rehearsed, but that was when I had the time. I had some borrowed equipment. That's when I was going to do it. And so I made it happen, and it came out okay. It's okay. I mean, I had to put a little bit of extra time on editing, and that was like 5 different tracks that I comped from to get it to work, because I just flat out forget what I'm saying. I had to actually put the words out in front of me, because I couldn't remember the damn words. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even get through the song. So and that's kind of the hard part about doing everything yourself. There's just so much that you have to kind of attack it one piece at a time. And the good news is, like, once you get the guitar and bass done, and you've already done all your pre-production, yeah, the vocals, it's the hardest part with that is just staying rehearsed, staying prepared, and then finding a time where you have both the time and the energy and just that creative mojo to do it. That's really the hardest part. And that's kind of where I've been at. It's just like I don't really have a whole lot of time. And when I do have the time, by that point, I don't really have a lot of energy because I've worked a shit ton of hours. I've got stuff going on all the time. I got kids that need attention. And I'm always on the go doing stuff or working on the house, working on the cars, mowing something. And so it's kind of hard for me to ever get a chance to really relax and do this. And then when I do take a week vacation, it's like, man, it's like there's so many things I need to do in that time that it's hard to find that time. So I'm kind of stuck where I'm just like doing pre-production and podcasting and trying to learn how to promote things on the internet. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy, I'm content, but I'm at a point where I'm asking myself, why am I still doing this? And I think that's where a lot of people get, you know, why am I still in this band? Why am I still trying to make music? Why am I trying to make why am I making YouTube cover videos? A lot of people do that. It's the fun pastime, you know. Some people do some great shit and it's fun to watch, you know, gets millions of views. Some people, hey, they get 2,500 views. Like, I wish I got 2,500 views. I'd be happy. I don't even know how to get people to watch this, you know? I mean, I've got some ways. I'm starting to get traction on my own, on as my brand, you know, but I'm learning. And so what I'm finding is, sorry, if I don't keep doing this, I'll never have like that big body of work, right? But it's getting to the point where sometimes this feels like work. And it's at the point where this feels like work because I'm actually trying to get it out there. And I think that's where I kind of struggle, because I think a lot of us, the majority of us, do music or mixing or recording or mastering, that kind of stuff, because they enjoy it. But then when they try to take it to the next level and either try to capitalize or monetize on it or try to get it promoted or start marketing it, that's not what they really enjoy. And reality is, what I found is, if you don't want to pay people to do things, you have to do it yourself. Let me tell you, this marketing thing, I'm learning, I'm getting better at it, and I'm starting to figure out what it's about and how to do it. Because, you know, people say, oh, you just get on social media. Well, what exactly does that mean? Like, there are people who are so much more fluid in knowing how to use social media than I am, that I'm just now starting to pick up things like, and learning how it works. I mean, I know how to share things. I know how to post stuff, but you just go post a video or a link to your YouTube video and you don't get shit for views. Like, that's just the reality. How do you get it to where people will actually watch it? How do you get it to where, like, people even notice it's there? You know, how do you get people to even come across your post? So where I'm at right now is learning how to get people to come across my posts on Facebook, you know, and I'm learning. How do I get people to go to my YouTube channel and check out my video? Like, how do you learn that stuff? And it's one more rabbit hole I'm going down. And I'll be honest, it's not fun. It's not something I really enjoy. It's not my thing. I didn't grow up really Facebooking. I have one, but social media is not really my thing, but it has to be my thing, or otherwise my voice will never be heard. And I've got to, the only thing I can really do is use social media and the internet as my venue. So the internet is my oyster, but I don't want to be in that shell, but that's just the reality of it. But the reason I do it is because I want my stuff to get heard. And why is it that I want my stuff to get heard? Because I want to be able to connect with other people. I guess I want to have like that sort of like little group that I belong to, that little group, that little a little something I was part of creating, right? And so where like the Dris Organica brand will go, I have no idea. It may not go anywhere. In fairness, it probably won't. And that's not really why I do it. Isn't to become rich or successful off this or famous off it. But what I do know is that if you don't try, it will never happen. And so I'm in the process of, trying. And I think that is yet again where a lot of times people fall short is it sucks to try and fail and not know what you're doing. And especially when you realize that, hey, there's no guarantee of any kind of return. Believe me, I am very aware that this is probably not going to monetize for me. This is probably not something that's going to make me rich, famous, and powerful, and I'll be able to retire at the tender age of 35 because I have such a successful YouTube channel. Like, that's not going to likely happen. But I know it won't happen if I don't get my stuff out there. So I think that's part of the thing I don't like is that it's forcing me to get out of my comfort zone and push myself to do things that I normally wouldn't do, have to learn things I normally wouldn't. And that's kind of a tough thing. And I think that's part of the reason why bands fail is they enjoy making music, they enjoy playing shows, but when they want to take it to the next level, they don't enjoy all the things that they have to do to make that happen. And they begin to realize what it's going to take. It's like, oh shit, this is work now. I was fine up until it became work, And that's kind of what's happening with me right now is this is starting to become work now. I don't mind doing this. This isn't so bad. But it's the other stuff like learning how for me to just make this and get it on YouTube. That was work. Learning how to find a way to host, have a website, have another place host my media, and how to be able to link it to my website. I had to create a website, find a host for all my files that would actually take more than some very small amount. That's the problem. Even SoundCloud, you can hardly get shit on there before they cap you. And so I needed something that was, and I wasn't about to go pay for this because I'm not out here making money and I'm not trying to monetize, but at some point when you're spending money, you have overhead. And when you have overhead, you have expectations and things you have to do. And I didn't want that. So I finally found a way to do this without spending any money. And, that was some work, but it was rewarding because it was easy. It's once you have that in line, you just go in there, you type some stuff in, you upload it. It's not really a big deal. At first it was, I would put a lot of time editing these and I realized, hey, this ain't going to work because that is too much work. I can't be doing that. So the truth is I just had to get better at my craft. And so far so good. I think I've gotten better at it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be out on NPR anytime soon, hosting my own radio show. But the reality is this kind of stuff takes work. Whether you want to be in a musical group or have some kind of a project where you create music, at some point it becomes work and it becomes tiring. And there's just certain aspects of it that you don't like doing. Like, to be honest, I like recording other people. I like going to studios, but I do not like having everything that goes into recording myself. It's too much at once. I've got to focus on so many things. It's like, I got to be on my game and it's just, it's not fun recording yourself. I don't mind mixing and mastering myself. That's fine. Or at least my own material, but recording yourself sucks. It's not fun. So what I found is that like, I just got to get somebody over here to just push buttons for me. It's like, look, hey brother, hey Channing, can you just come over here and like push this button when I need you to, man? It'll be cool. I'll buy you some beer. Whatever. I'll owe you a favor. Here, I'll mix something for you. I'll master. I'll pitch correct something. Just whatever. Just come over here for like a few hours. It'll be cool. I'll owe you one. So I think that's part of it is, you're not going to like everything that you have to do what you want to do to the fullest. Sorry. The effects of quitting smoking. Everything just wants to come out. But, so I think part of what will make the burden of trying to do music, and when I say, I don't mean to capitalize it as so much as monetize, but to get it out there and, or to get it recorded, or, you know what I mean? A lot of people love to play and write music, but they're not really interested in what it takes to record stuff. So they just want to, they'll just pay someone to do that. But still, it takes money. You know, no matter what you do, there's no free lunch here. I could spend money and get somebody to market this, but they're not going to go at it at the same effort that, or gusto that I would if I'm really truly passionate about it. But I'm not really passionate about marketing, but I'm not in a position where it makes sense for me to pay someone to do that for me. I can do everything else myself. I just can't market. And I don't know crap about video editing, and I'm not really interested in learning, but I kind of realize that I'm selling myself short by not learning this stuff and making crappy YouTube videos. So this is just a start. You know, I started putting videos out on YouTube that were just, it was just my dialogue podcasts, and you know, that's a start. And all along the way, I was trying to figure out the best way to make videos and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm not saying it's the best way, but it's a start. And so I think, well, what you have to do is just start doing it. Don't worry about the consequences, or that it's not going to be awesome at first. Just keep doing it, because it is kind of cool to see people progress in their craft and get better at things in time. And I know that my show has gotten a lot better in time. Although I was listening to another episode, an episode of, I forget how far back, but it was, you know, a little ways back, but not that far back. Right at the point where, you know, we're like, hey, you know, I've really turned the corner. This is starting to become a pretty decent sounding podcast. And I could just tell, like, I wasn't feeling it that day. I was doing it, but you could just tell I just didn't have the energy. I'm like, I don't know why I even did the episode. I wasn't feeling it. I was pushing myself. I was just doing it, I think, to do it. And, well, that's great. Like, I sometimes it's like, should I have even done it? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I want to have this big body of work so that when anybody does discover Dris Organica or this show, you know, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, because there's going to be stuff coming up, and there's a lot of stuff to go check out that has already transpired. You know, I'll catch on to a podcast after, and it's like, you know, 100 something episodes in. Well, that's great, because while they may only put out one every week or two or month, whatever, I've got months, years worth of shit to go back and check out. And it keeps me entertained. It's like, oh, it's like hitting the mother lode. It's like finding buried treasure. It's great. And, so I think that's kind of the reality is you can't do music with the expectation that you're going to get anywhere quickly. It's a grind, and you just keep at it, and you keep getting better and better. And it gets to a point where I think things that happen, I like to say, I like kind of the grassroots sort of approach of doing things. Don't do this and get into debt. Do this because you enjoy it, and try to do as much as you can yourself, and figure out where your major obstacles are and what you need to do to get around them, and realize, is this something you really need to do? Are you better off just paying someone? I think most people are better off just paying someone to go record them and mix and master their stuff. I think that's a fair statement, you know? And I think if I ever got more serious about the Dris Organica name and the brand, and got more serious about my YouTube channel, had more music out there, was doing more things, you know, yeah, it might make some sense for me to pay some people to really help promote me and launch this. But for the meantime, this is fine. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, but I can see why people get discouraged, because I get discouraged, because like, this thing isn't really taking off, but I haven't really put it in a position to take off. Only just now am I starting to actually promote. I've been promoting this for like, I don't know, 3 weeks now. Like actively really putting some kind of effort into the Facebook side of promotion, sending out some emails. but I don't want to do too much at once. It's just a consistent thing. Like if I can find one or two people a month, or, you know, a couple people every 2-3 weeks, something like that, who pick up on this and enjoy it, that's how it gets started. You know, I'm not anticipating I share it on Facebook and I get 3 million likes, 20 million views. That's not how this works. It's a small organic thing. You got to get the ball rolling. That's what I'm doing. And I think that that's reality for most people. And it just sucks because you just got to find what you love and keep doing it and don't stop doing it. And then when you think you're at a point where it's like, hey, I'm in this for the long haul. I've got enough to where I've actually got something that is perhaps capitalizable or marketable, or something that's worth just showing off. Hey, if you made a full 6-song EP and it's good, that's all you need. Show it off. Get it out there. But if that's all you're going to do, it's probably not necessary to go and build some huge website, spend a bunch of money on stuff. Like, who cares? No, that's not going to get you anywhere if that's where you're going to stop. Now, there's a time and place where, yeah, hey, you've got several, you know, you're touring, you've got big plans. This is just, you know, drop in the bucket for how much you're spending on your total campaign. That's different, completely different. But if your goal is just to get your name out there and try to promote it a little bit, you know, I think you're better off with a grassroots campaign doing videos that get 10,000 views than paying people and getting 50,000, 100,000 views. Yeah, okay, for some reason my camera stopped. So, hey, I'm figuring this out as we go. I think I was going for 45 minutes before it finally crapped out. I mean, it might just be a matter of, hey, I'm running out of space on my hard drive on my phone. I've got a pretty good amount, but I mean, these videos take a lot of space. So, you know, maybe that's just a sign that I need to make shorter videos. I've been thinking that for a while, because it's one thing to have an hour-long podcast. It's another thing to have an hour-long video cast. So I'm thinking maybe 30 minutes is where it needs to go. But, you know, only time will tell. This is all a work in progress. And let me tell you something else. Uploading videos is a bitch. Takes forever, man. It's just like, rendering it takes forever. And it's getting to where it's like, man, this feels like work now. So I've got to figure out a way to do this to where it doesn't feel so, it's not so labor intensive. And not that it's even all that labor intensive. It's just, you set it, you forget it, you come back an hour, it's like, okay, it's done. You type in a description, you know, but at least with the other one, it's like, it takes like 10 minutes, 5 minutes to upload, you know, some 100 megabyte file. It's not so bad. Rendering it to MP3 takes like 2 minutes. Rendering it to video takes like 25. And so maybe if I had a better computer, you know, but that's, once again, I'm not out. I use my phone for most of my internet needs. I have a laptop. It's fine. I've got a desktop. It's fine. They're all old. They're not that powerful, but they're good for what I need. And at the end of the day, why am I going to have it? Just so I can do video rendering quicker for something I don't make money on already? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. But that's just kind of how that goes. So at any rate, you know, I guess just to kind of sum it all up, you know, why do we do it? Why do we do what we do when it comes to music? And I think it's a question we ask ourselves, but if we're to really truly be honest, we do it because we love it. You know, we enjoy the part of ourselves that's brought out by doing something creative. It releases endorphins. It makes you feel better about yourself. It pushes you, you know, body, mind, and soul. I know it does for me, and I know it does for other people. I tell you, it is really a cool and special thing when you can connect with another person musically. And I think the reason why I do it, and the reason why a lot of other people like me do it, is because it may not connect to that many people, but if you connect to one other person musically, you've just basically connected to another person spiritually. And it's without getting too, you know, voodoo on you, you know, it's kind of a cool feeling. Maybe a little odd at the same time, but it's definitely nice to know that you can be on the same wavelength as another person. And I think that's kind of what motivates me and what motivates a lot of other people. Not everyone's going to like this show. Hey, And I'm going to do some things, I think, to make it more accessible. And I think I need to do some things to make it more mainstream, enjoyable. And I think probably getting it on the YouTube, having a face, to go with the voice, that will help. All that kind of stuff. And, I don't know if I'm going to have a video for every podcast. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I should. And maybe I should do more of them, but do shorter ones. I'm not sure. But some things I know would be very difficult to do video-wise, and make it make sense without having to do a lot of editing. And one of the big ones that's going to be hard to do is like when I'm doing like a shootout or I'm having to play music and that kind of thing. That's kind of a hard thing to do on YouTube without putting in effort and having like software and me having to do a bunch of that kind of shit. And that's what I want to avoid. So it might be one of those things where like, I do something to where it's like, I guess what I could do is just, I've got my YouTube thing, but whenever I do that, it just kind of pauses with me going, or just the screen goes blank with the intention that you're going to listen to something or make a slideshow. I don't know, but it won't be anything super awesome, like me going to the screen and clicking on stuff. I'm not interested in putting that much work into this, especially on something that I'm not really making money on or I'm not asking to, like, I'm not asking for it, so I'm not giving it. You know what I mean? But I guess where there's a will, there's a way. And with this mixing board and just a little bit of energy and some thought, I'm sure I can figure out a way to do it. But my video editing software consists of Windows Movie Maker, okay? So don't expect a whole lot. I tried doing it on Reaper, maybe it'll work better with using my cell phone camera because, oh man, there's just a whole level of complicated when it comes to video that I just wasn't really prepared for. I gave myself a crash course and I failed. And I think it was because the piece of equipment I have was just not suitable for what I was trying to do. Maybe the cell phone is, but I'm not about to go buy a camera. I've got one of these big fancy DSLR cameras that I don't know how to use. It's my wife. She does it for her photography. And to be honest, I think at the point that I'm using that, like I've got to do the lights better. I kind of need somebody holding the messing with the camera. I'd have to have it on a tripod and it would I would have to actually edit it and it would just take a lot of time. And I'm just not here to do that. Maybe at some point I will. I've got the ability to make really good videos. I've got the ability to make good sounding videos. What I don't have is the capacity or the drive to make really good videos. Hell, that's all I can do to just make content that doesn't suck ass. All right, so, one thing at a time. I'm getting better at the content. I'm finally getting on the video, on the YouTube. So one thing at a time, guys, and just like the same thing. Let what I'm doing be a guide for you if it helps. Or, hey, here's another person trying to do this. Not to say you should do it like me, because this has not been a great success story. You should probably find a better way, but it's okay. Just do what you want to do, have fun, but don't lose track of why you do it. Why is it you do music? What is it about it? Stay focused on that and realize that if you want to do it on a bigger level, you're going to have to put some work into it, but that's okay. Don't lose focus and don't try to overreach. Do what you can do and focus on doing that well and get better at it and practice it and gradually add more and more, perspective and more time and more resources and talent that you learn from doing this, and use it to benefit what you do, and not so much worry about, I've got to make the greatest this, that, or the other thing, and just focusing on that, because all that does is distract you. Don't worry about how good your website is. Just get one. Is it effective? Cool. Does it translate a message for you? Cool. Can you find your music? Great. Now work on getting people to actually be able to find it. Okay. Work on that. Hey, I'm not saying go crazy. Just do what you can when you can to where it doesn't feel like you're working too hard. Figure out something that works and do that. And do it for a while. All right? And then when it gets to where like, okay, this isn't working, or I'm getting some level of success, and one thing leads to another is what I'm basically saying. Don't worry about what you can't do. Just focus on what you can and do it well, and keep listening. Keep doing what you do. All right. It's been a pleasure having you here on the 44th episode of the Working Musicians Podcast. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.